Now, Jin Woo lives in Korea, but it cuts over to the United States, where screams are coming from this A-rank dungeon, and they're coming from this guy named James, who just watched his whole company get wiped out by one man. Raditz? Nah, he actually looks way cooler than Raditz. He thinks he's some human type of monster, because the energy coming from him is equal to that of an A-rank dungeon. Like, it seems impossible how strong he is. But he's just like, my ears hurt from the screaming. Don't worry, man, I didn't kill them, I just knocked them out. But he can't understand him because he's American. So he tries to break it down simply. I'm Korean and I want to go home. Then it cuts to Jin Woo and Jin Ho having a celebratory dinner. They completed all the dungeons they need for him to become a guild master. And even though his body is just gonna heal the effect, he's having a drink with him and asks him what he's gonna do now. And he's gotta take an exam, get his guild license, and then go talk with his father. Jin Woo's just thinking to himself, it was nice to get a $30 billion building out of this, but really that's just a bonus. My goal was to level up. And since I've done that, there's really no need for me to hang around anymore. Then Jinho asks what he's gonna do as he looks at the key in his hand and says, I'm gonna be out of contact for a while. I got somewhere to go. But he's just like, damn, and takes a big ass gulp. Bro, if I'm a bother to you, just let me know. I won't bother you anymore. Jin Woo's like, what, bro? Why are you being weird? Like, I didn't say that at all. He's just confused why he's being like this. So he asks him, what am I to you? Like, what do you think this is? He says, well, I got an older brother who's like 10 years older than me, but he don't like me, so we don't spend no time together. But really, you're more of a big brother to me than he's ever been. Jin Woo's surprised for a second and says, okay, if that's how you think of me, then I'll consider you my younger brother too. Bro start crying, doing the most, trying to give him a hug like, yo, calm down, you're drunk. He says he's more awake than he's ever been. But while they're having this moment, Jin Woo hears over the TV, they're talking about the Red Gate event he was just involved in. They're asking the guildmaster a bunch of questions, but even though they keep probing him, he stands firm that there was no other party involved. Jin Woo's like, other party? Is he keeping that secret for my sake? It cuts to him just taking a fucking break because the reporters are getting on his nerves. Then he gets a call from another hunter saying that there's some big news. It's that Japan is asking for help from Korean hunters for a consultation with an S-rank dungeon on Jeju Island. He already knows this dungeon because him and some other hunters tried to raid it before, but after failing 3 times, the government gave up trying to pass the gate. Who says it's a nightmare he doesn't want to remember because it was a nest of strong-ass ants just slaughtering everybody. And even to this day, the island is still just packed with them. And the guy on the phone says he thinks there's been a mutation because an ant with wings was found on the coast of Japan. But cuts to Jin Ah talking to Jin Woo saying, you don't go out as often these days, and then all of a sudden you're going on a trip because he said he's about to leave for a week. She like, oh, who you going on a trip with? Did my appa get a special someone? He's like, nah, I'm just going with my homeboy. But really, this nigga is going to the gates of hell as he returns to the dungeon where he fought that Cerberus. This time, his levels are 3 times higher. He's walking to the door and the flames are just swirling. He uses the key to open it and it says a new quest has arrived. He says it's been a while since I got one of these, but the rewards look kind of crazy. Any item he wants, plus 20 stats, and a hidden reward. There are plenty of items he could choose from that he could just sell in the real world for billions of dollars. But if the rewards are this great, then the difficulty must be high, and he can't even find any monsters. As he passes through the gate, he sees that it's a field type. Now, I was confused what he meant by this at first. It shows the dungeon basically recreated all of Seoul, Korea. He has to collect 10,000 demon souls. But he says, collecting 10,000 demon souls? That must mean there are 10,000 demons in that castle. The system says he gets 1 soul per demon, but that there are demons that are worth multiple souls. He's like, man, I used the excuse that I was going on a trip, but will a week be enough? As he drops his bag, but before it hits the ground, he pulls a Minato and just gets right down to business, running through these niggas like a track meet. And one of them tries to charge up and blast him. Bro is just not quick enough, and Jin Woo pops his head off. He says it's easy right now. And then it shows that there's a new experience indicator, letting him know how much he has to gain before he can level up again. Now it cuts to Jin Ho meeting with his father, trying to get him to pass ownership of the guild over to him. He sees he got his license and all the raids that he passed, and he tells his father that he's the best option because you don't want an outsider running your guild. But his dad says, stop, there's somebody I want you to meet. It's one of the hunters that was just trapped in that red gate with Sung Jin Woo, and says due to Jin Woo's overwhelming power, they were able to survive the gate. His dad says, you know I'm always looking for promising hunters, so imagine my surprise when I seen you on the list next to him on all of your raids. He says the timing of your negotiation is unfortunate. Do you acknowledge that Jin Woo carried your ass to your hunter's license? He's like, yeah, I acknowledge it. Well, do you have anything else to say? Yeah, just please, leave the guild to me. He just says, all right, bet, you got it. They're like, huh, what the fuck? Why? He says, it's just like you said, it's way easier to just trust it to you. I just tried to fool you. Like, what kind of dumbass asserts the negatives during a negotiation? You think you could bring Jin Woo over to our guild? He says, I'm gonna try my best. The other S-rank hunters he's just tried to recruit, he hasn't been able to get a hold of. Some are in vice positions at other guilds, and some are just retired. Namely this guy Byung-gyu, who after seeing this ant's corpse in Japan, might come out of retirement. The shit that's coming up is about to be fun. As it cuts back to Jin Woo just posing on these niggas. He has to take out all the demons on this floor before he can go to the next one. Even though the demons he just beat up were mostly D rank, they still gave him some good experience. At this point, for him to level up one time, he would have to clear a C rank dungeon 9 times. It's gradually becoming harder for him to grow stronger. He felt it back when he met the guildmaster that even though he himself is like barely an S rank, there's still higher levels to go. So he has to stay on the grind and keep working. Now after taking out all the demons, he gets like a permit to go to the second floor, which is up this like Jacob's ladder sort of thing. Hey, shout out Angel. He calls for any one of his shadow monsters to come out. It's the king of the ice bears. So he's like, isn't he like a heavy duty truck? He hops on his back to ride him to Jacob's ladder. As soon as he does, some more demons pop up. Jin Woo's just like, golly, y'all are annoying. But before he can even do anything, king of the ice bears just start charging through, tearing him to pieces as he runs through him. He like, damn bro, you wild. So he names him Tank and tells him to run until he reaches the circle. Now it cuts back to America at the United States Bureau of Hunters, where they have the guy we saw earlier in custody. He said he claims that he's a hunter from South Korea. They're like, how did a Korean hunter end up on the other side of the earth? He says he was trapped in that A-rank dungeon when it closed 10 years ago. And then when he opened his eyes, he was just in America. Not only did a human come out of an A-rank gate, but the attack force comprised of A-ranking hunters were helpless against him. They just suspect that he's some kind of monster, but they want to get an S-rank hunter to help interrogate him. And there is one that lives in Washington that is fluent in Korean. As it cuts to Hwang Dong-soo, mad as shit that he didn't get to kill Sung Jin Woo. And that's when they say that his name is Sung Il Hwan. Sounds kind of similar to another name I know. Now it cuts back to the Flaming Tower of Hell. Jin Woo's just running through the demons trying to get to the second floor. He finds out that each floor is like its own separate dimension. Well, if it's 100 floors, it's 100 different worlds for him to go through. He ends up running through the second, the third, the fourth, all the way to the 27th. He's racking up bodies and experience. It shows that he's collected 2,100 of the 10,000 demon souls he needs. It says this shit is probably about to get a whole lot harder, but the real problem is time. There's really 100 floors. There's no way he can do all this shit in a week. As he continues this march with his shadow soldiers, he says his anxiety started to disappear with time and boring battles. As he gets to the 47th floor, there's somebody waiting for him. The ruler of the lower floors, fucking Vulcan, his guard of Vulcans. It shows them all posted up like, I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of tough. Jin Woo's like, yeah, this shit looks dangerous, so let me take care of this. As he summons 3 of his magicians, and as a team fireball jutsu, blast all of his guards in front of him. He tells Igris and Iron to take care of the rest as he uses his stealth to disappear. Now the guards see them and start running down, but Jin Woo gives the word, get rid of them. That nigga Igris don't waste no time. Like, this shit is so tough. He's just watching excited because his shadows are getting stronger too. But the big guy is just not moving at all. But Jin Woo's thinking he's just gonna finish it, but all of a sudden he's just gone. Right above the shadow soldiers, winded the fuck up. We're looking like Kaido with that big ass club. He got my man's Iron going through it. He swipes it back the other way, and Igris gets cracked and sent flying. He pretty much took everybody out with those 2 swings. So Jin Woo starts running up on him while he's invisible, puts max aura into this punch, and calls the big dude a bastard before chin checking him into next week, sending him crashing through the city. But Jin Woo's just surprised at how far he flew before remembering that he just ignorantly put most of his stats into strength. But then the Vulcan stands up and the system says he activated a skill called Wrath, and Big Buddy just start tweaking. The shit say all of his stats go up by 50%. And it even says he will feel less pain as he flies through the air, spinning at Jin Woo. And he's flying so fast he's not going to be able to avoid it. So he yells for Iron, who stands up and then beams his shield at Jin Woo. He catches it without looking, plus 200 aura and is able to block this thing's fucking club. Now the anime gonna do this justice, like this shit is hard, but the Vulcan just keeps swinging and swinging trying to crush him, but because of Jinwoo's high ass strength, he's completely comfortable just blocking this shit over and over again and is just calculating how he's gonna counter in between his movements. And he times his swing and attacks him, but his fat ass just weaved backwards quick as shit, which set Jinwoo up perfectly to get knocked out the park. He's like, shit, I can't move my body in midair. Wait, move my body? He remembers that he has the Dominator's touch, you know, just all the hacks. Now he can't use it to move the Vulcan, but he's able to force himself to fly backwards and escape the shot. Now the only place Jinwoo can hurt him is his head, but he's way too fast to risk that shit. He's got to do something to limit his movements and create an unavoidable situation as he looks over at this building and smiles. Then he takes off sprinting towards it, and since he's in berserker mode, this nigga is just right on his ass. So Jinwoo is just leading him towards this building, and once they get closer to it, he activates his sprint, kicking shit up into a higher gear. Then he zips up the building fast as shit, catching the nigga off guard as he turns around to face him and says it's too late, you can't stop now. So he jumps off the building fast as shit, destroying it towards this nigga. You know they had to give us the cold ass image. I'll give you a second to turn it. Yeah, this shit is hard. And he tears through his ass as he flies past him. Looks like he's feeling pain now. Now it cuts back to the white tiger people that are trying to recruit Jinwoo, like they're going around looking for him, but he's just missing. And even though he said he went on vacation, there's no record of him even leaving the city. Now he knows all this because it's his job to follow hunters. Like I thought he was being a weirdo, but this shit is literally his job. So she's like, do you think somebody kidnapped him? And he says, yeah, right. As it cuts back to Jinwoo on timing, again just another cold ass picture before showing us the aftermath. Jinwoo next. Like Jinwoo expected, the item drops from his body are excellent. He got an earring that boosts his health and strength by 20, a fragment of the world tree that can be used to make magic tools, Hunter x Hunter, and this orb that's supposed to enhance magic abilities. Now, as Jinwoo was thinking, a bunch of heads start rolling to his feet. Jinwoo's like, bro, can you please stop doing that? When you do it, this dumbass does it too. I'm telling you, the shadows are the best thing about this show. And he remembers that he did use his shield during the battle. He's like, hold up, magic team, stop goofing around and get your ass over here. He gives one of the magicians the orb and tells him to attack this building. The fire blast he creates is way bigger than they normally do, and it just decimates the entire thing, like the whole building gone. Jinwoo's like, damn, this shit is crazy. No motherfuckers would pay top dollar for this shit. So Hwang Dong-soo is interrogating the man they found in the A-rank dungeon and says, a monster who can speak a human language and it's Korean? He's like, bro, I already told you I'm not a monster. If you doubt my identity, you can do some DNA or just look up my ID. I mean, I don't know, man. Since you came out of a gate, you could be a monster disguising yourself as a human. And he doesn't really have a response to that. He's like, bro, it'd be better if you cooperate, because I decide if you're a human or a monster. He says, yeah, right. So he starts asking him, did you die in a dungeon? How did you survive there for 10 years? Or are you undead or some shit? Can someone who died in the dungeon come back to life? Because maybe his brother can come back. He says, nah, bro, people can't be brought back from the dead. Now let me ask you something. But he says, I'll be asking the questions, but he just cuts that nigga off. Gates, dungeons, and monsters. How much do you really know about these things? And he doesn't have shit to say. He asks, are you trying to say you know something we don't? He says the dungeons, gates, and monsters are nothing but a prelude to the real war, and the great disaster among them has woken up not too long ago. So Hwang Dong asks what his goal is, and he says to stop the disaster. And he asks, what's the great disaster? But he can't say. He's like, the human that came back to stop the disaster can't tell us what the disaster is. Isn't it better if we all work together? He says, against his power, even if the sloppy people gather together, they'll all just end up being used. And you should already know that since you're quite strong yourself. But he's like, quite? Did this nigga just look down on me? And he looks at his information on the clipboard and says, your days spent as a hunter were splendid. You would have made a huge sum of money in this current age. There's a whole grading system in place now, and at my level, you can live without worry. Then he starts looking at his family information and is surprised by the name. He asks, what's your daughter's name? And he says, Jin Ah. And your son? Sung Jin Woo. Bro immediately cracks a smirk. He can sense him like, what is that? That bloodlust. But he says, don't worry about it. I'll be asking the questions. He's like, nah, fuck that. I need to know why you tweaking right now. And if I don't answer, then I'll have to use force. But these niggas about to rumble. So Huang Dong presses this button, tells the cop outside that he's a monster who's about to attack. I recommend you evacuate. But he tells Mr. Sung that I know all about your son's current status. And he tells him that he's dead, thinking he's still trapped in that red gate. Of course, his father is just shocked from hearing this. He says, don't worry. You can hand him your will in person. Then it cuts over to an army of the undead. Like, these niggas having a festival. They got their leader, the Grim Reaper, I guess. Jin Woo's like, alright, Iron, Egress, clear a path for a nigga. I just love that they don't ever waste no time. But it's not just them. Everybody mobilizing like Decepticons. Going to war for Sung Jin Woo. Iron doing his thing, smashing shit up. Egress just always cold as shit. Jin Woo's talking to their leader. Are you surprised by how strong my soldiers are? As he hits this pose, bro is not Itachi. But you didn't see this coming, did you? I don't know if this nigga can talk or not, but he don't say shit. Hey, did the undead feel fear? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter, because he just dices him up and crumbles Yo to pieces with minimal effort. It says he defeated the Soul Shepherd Midas. Jin Woo's really just sick, because the system won't let him turn it into a shadow to make him a soldier of his own. But then he picks up one of the items and realizes that all the bosses drop pieces of a set, that Jin Woo was only missing one piece of the set. However, he already collected the 10,000 demon souls he needs to complete the dungeon. He just sits on the ground because he's tired of shit, and the systems tells him that part 1 has been completed. He gets 3 different rewards. To choose any item from the shop, 20 bonus stats, and then undisclosed reward. The item he chooses is a cursed random loot box. He had to pass up on one before and never got a chance to get it again. And it's another key, but this shit don't got no information at all. Just question marks everywhere. He's like, what the fuck? What am I use this for? He just throws it in his inventory, says, I'll probably need it later. And as for the 20 bonus points, he just put it all towards his intelligence, max IQ, and he accepts the final undisclosed reward. It's a blueprint to craft something called the Holy Water of Life.